British Prime Minister Johnson held a direct conference with EU Commission President von der Leyen about Brexit. The result? Admonitions to the Brexit negotiators. The negotiations between the EU and the UK for a free trade agreement have stalled. Even a rather unproductive conversation between the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson could not change that much. After their video conference on Saturday afternoon, both sides made a statement. It does refer to the small progress made in the negotiations over the past few weeks. But there are significant gaps, the statement said, particularly on the issues of fisheries, the aid scheme and the model of future organization of cooperation. Johnson and von der Leyen instructed their negotiators to continue negotiating intensively in order to bridge the differences. The explanation didn't sound very confident. As far as can be seen from the outside world, the discussion did not bring the breakthrough that would have been necessary to give the negotiators greater room for negotiations and thus to reach an agreement that could be presented at the European Council on October 15th. As early as Friday, negotiators Michel Barnier and David Frost announced that no decisive progress had been made. Barnier, the negotiator for the EU, announced after the end of the 9th round of negotiations that there had been no movement, especially in the areas of data protection, climate protection, fisheries, aid and arbitration procedures. David Frost said, referring to differences on state aid and fisheries policies, "I'm afraid there is very little time left to resolve these differences before the European Council on October 15th. Indeed, time is running out. The transition period ends at the end of the year. By then, the 1,000 pages that would make up an agreement would have to be watertight, translated into 24 languages, checked by 27 governments and ratified by both sides." Johnson was optimistic in the UK media but called for concessions from the EU. "The chances of a deal are very good if we are all a little sensible and focus on the deal that is possible," Johnson said in an interview with the Daily Telegraph. But Australia, a disguised term for breaking off the talks without a free trade agreement, is not a terrible scenario, he said. However, there has been a clear loss of confidence on the part of the EU. Chancellor Angela Merkel expressed herself cautiously optimistic on Friday, although she referred to the break caused by the internal market bill planned by the British. With this law, the British government is trying to undo the agreements of the already ratified withdrawal treaty and the Northern Ireland Protocol. "That is bitter," said Merkel. "The decisive phase that now follows will show whether we can make progress. We are talking a constructive approach. Much depends on what Britain wants and doesn't want. That is the free decision of Great Britain, of course. Whether there could be a breakthrough will be decided in the next few days." Johnson doesn't have much room for maneuver. He himself is considered to be weak in making decisions. The circle of his closest advisors consists almost exclusively of supporters of a hard Brexit. In addition to his chief advisor Dominic Cummings and negotiator David Frost, these are the former head of the Vote Leave campaign and current Minister for Cabinet Affairs Michael Gove, Foreign Minister Dominic Raab, Interior Minister Priti Patel, Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak and the Attorney General Suella Braverman. Behind them is the party's ideological Brexit group, the European Research Group, the infamous ERG, which demands a complete separation from the EU and would prefer a no deal. Concessions to the EU are dismissed by them as betrayal of the idea of Brexit, although half of the British see the exit from the EU as wrong in retrospect. 39% think it's correct. As a result, the negotiations are getting stuck on 3 crucial points: the future aid scheme in the UK, the fishing rights of the EU fleet in UK waters, and the concept of how future dispute between the EU and Great Britain should be resolved. The point of aid concerns the fundamental questions of whether a so-called ex ante or ex post regime should apply and how this is enforced. In the EU, state aid must be approved by the EU Commission before it's paid. In the event of a breach, companies and private individuals who feel harmed can sue and, in case of doubt, receive compensation. At the beginning of the negotiations, the EU tried to impose this model on the British as well. The Johnson administration refused. They want to follow the rules of the World Trade Organization, the WTO. According to this, a state can only complain to the WTO after state aid has already been provided. The complaint process takes years and compensation is very difficult to enforce. According to the Financial Times in the summer, Johnson's chief advisor Dominic Cummings has a model for Great Britain that gives the London government the power to provide generous state aid in England, Scotland and Wales without the need for approval by an authority. There should be no competition authority independent of political influence. A violation should only be able to be reprimanded in retrospect. The concept is anathema to the EU. They insist that an aid model be developed that is at least based on the same principles, namely on the ex ante model. When it comes to fishing, the British have long felt that the EU was taking advantage of them, as half of the 6 million tons of fish that the EU fleet catches each year come from British waters. The British fleet itself, however, only catches 750,000 tons per year. British fishermen want to catch most of the fish in their own waters again, although that is a bit an exaggeration because they only fish 750,000 tons a year in their own waters because they sold off their quotas to European fishermen. According to London's ideas, the EU should renegotiate with London every year about the quotas that the EU fleet would be allowed to catch in British waters. This quota would of course be drastically reduced. The British concept is particularly rejected by France, Belgium and the Netherlands, which are strongly represented in the fisheries sector. They insist on maintaining the current system in which the catch quotas are allocated to the countries according to a key that has not changed for decades. Barnier has therefore had little room for maneuver so far. And there's one more thing. The Guardian reported that in this talk von der Leyen and Johnson agreed on an extension of the negotiations for a month. And Max Robespierre, I know you made a video about this, but I'm sorry, I couldn't find any confirmation of this from German sources. And it was only the Guardian who reported that. So I left that out, definitely. But if you now want to know more about European and global politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you on the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel. You'll find the schedule for my videos with the different topics in the pinned comment. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!